Hello everyone, this is Mighty Scon here with another episode of Feed the Beast Revelations. So I am here and we are now on episode 12. No, 13. Episode 13. I'm starting to lose count. And I have a slew of things to go over here. So let's look at the changes real quick. So they actually fixed charcoal blocks. So I think before I made these charcoal blocks thinking, oh hey, I can convert them back into charcoal, but I was wrong. And they actually fixed them, so now when you make a charcoal block, you can actually make it into the actually additions version of that block, which will be able to be converted back into charcoal. And so that's a nice fix now. I did upgrade to a golden backpack, and so that's just a, I think if you've seen the last one, it's just a iron backpack, and then you have gold, and then your oak or your chest there as well. And so this gives me more slots. I was running out of space. I think it went up to this line here, so I only had 2 slots left, and now I have 6 rows. And the next thing is I made some plants. So I planted these. These grow on their red orchids. You get them from just cutting up grass. And if you actually collect them, you may get a drop as well. So yeah, I got a drop. And the drop rates are pretty high on these things. And so they give you redstone. I think 1 per. So it's nice balance. But you have to get a silk touch pick or a silk touch hammer, which I have, and mine up some redstone. And so when I went mining, I got some of these and planted this. And then I actually got another ender lily planted, and these are actually doing very well. I left the game running for about an hour, and I came back and I had 3 of them ready to go. So that helps. And if you're on a server, then these will always be ticking as long as you have your chunks loaded. These will always be ticking, and they'll always be growing something. So on servers, they work better. And the final thing is the base. I got tired of seeing the randomness of the base, and so I decided to do some remodeling and make it look nice. There's some work that needs to be done over here, and I'll actually put a door here. But for now, it's better looking. And I have some machines embedded in walls, and I also have some the plates, so you can actually make covers. And I think the proper thing is it's a structured duct, and you can put a block and combine it with a structural duct, and then it will give you a cover. And so a cover, let's see if I can find a cover. I think this is a cover. You just right click on it. Yeah, you can replace it. And so it covers up the ducts, which is nice. It's a nice little way to make your base look better. And I don't like the wooden mixed with the gray wall, so I'm going to have to find a way to get this to be a certain color. But that's a work in progress. So for now, it looks a little bit better. I did some work up here. This will be power. So I moved all my generators up here. And I feed it spruce woods. This thing is completely full. And I'll just charge up all my batteries, all my energy cells in this room. And I'll expand this to better power very soon. Maybe the next 2 episodes I'll move to a different power source other than charcoal, even though these have been doing very good. They are very efficient. And so that's up here, and I'll fix this up too very soon. Down here, this took me a little while. So I made a wall, 2 walls full of storage, and I also made a drawer controller. And the drawer controller, you can have a bunch of items in your inventory. So for instance, I have this redstone here. I think it's the only thing I have on the wall is redstone. that's in my inventory. So I can just double click, and I now deposited the redstone. See, it's gone, and it went to here. So if I have an inventory full of stuff, I can just right click on this, and it'll deposit things as if I were to right click on one of these individually. There is a limit, and I think the limit is probably maybe 20 blocks. So I can't deposit stuff this far out, but I can deposit anything along this wall, and I may go this way with it too, just push it back. But that is it, and you can see some stuff exposed up there. So whenever I am actually mining, I can come in here and I can just deposit stuff into here, and it'll process, and then it will go down to the basement on the wall. I did want to point out one thing with this, is that these don't tell you what they are, but if you want to know what they are, you have to like hit shift. So it says copper ingot, but if I'm not crouching down, you can't really tell. And some of these items look very similar, like especially the different types of aluminum mixed with the iron. So you have to just hold down shift and kind of pan around to see things. I'm not sure if I like that. I did display the quantities, so if you're interested in how that works, you can actually get a quantified key, which will show or hide stored quantity labels. That's just a key, a regular key for refined storage, and a book and a quill. So you can make that, and you get this. And then all you do is you just take it out, and you can right click, and it just shows the quantity. That's pretty much how that works. So I think I might expand out this way and expand it this way, and this is all temporary. I just got tired of looking for stuff and not finding it, so I did this to help me out, and we'll see how it works. But this will be storage down here. Eventually I'll have my applied energistics storage system down here, and the access to it will be up here. So that's the long-term end game goal, is to have just a single block or two to access the storage below. And this room will just be for just basic stuff, just things I need to just run through. I'll have a whole processing room down here as well. I like running power up top, and I like having storage below, and my main floor is just for living, and a few other things like books. So that's it for the changes. So on to today's episode, and so we want to work on a way to get ender pearls, and an efficient way of getting ender pearls. And so there are a few things we can do. There's different types of mob imprisonment. There is the one from Industrial Foregoing, which is the mob imprisonment tool, and I definitely have this. I went and killed several ghasts, and I definitely have a lot of plastic, so this is a very easy route for us to go. Then there's the Soul Shard mod, which is a mod that allows you to pretty much kill things and get soul shards, and you trap the mob's soul into this, and the more items you kill, the more mobs you kill, the more this increases in tiers. So you kill 64, you get a tier 1, you kill 128, you get a tier 2, and so on and so forth. And then you build yourself a soul cage, and you can drop this shard into this cage, and you will have a spawner, essentially, that is unlimited, no power, nothing. This makes it a very easy way to get things to spawn. Then all you need to do then is just have a way to kill the mobs. And so this is a very good no power solution to produce mobs. The other option is a duplicator, so a mob duplicator. We just got a little bit of a price on this recipe, but it's not that bad actually. We have the emeralds, we have everything that needs to be done. The only problem is this thing uses up a pretty good amount of power to duplicate this, and it also requires essence. So those are different long-term solutions. Another thing that we could do in the short term is to get a wand of what is it? A moving wand. So we can get a moving wand, which requires blaze rods, gold, and I can actually make this right now. And so what this will do is this will get us, you can also find them in dungeon chests as well, which I've not found one yet. But this will let us move blocks, and it also let us move spawners. And so this is another way we can actually move spawners and then produce a way to get mob essence, and also a way to get drops from mobs. So I'm thinking like blaze spawners would be good, and also skeleton spawners, things like that. So what I'm going to do is probably tackle this moving wand first, and then also make some mob imprisonment tools, and then we'll go capture them, and then we'll work on the next step. So I will be back when I have those things. And we are back, and I did a few changes to our list. Once I started looking at some of these things, I realized that we probably need to step back to look at the room design, and then we'll probably look at the mob crusher, because if we get all these different spawners, we won't have anything to do with them until we actually build these two things. So I went ahead and built the room, and I put it down this hallway. So there it is. I just did a little bit of a decoration in here, and there's a reason why it's actually dirt, and I'll get to that in a few minutes. But I did get a spawner, so I used my moving wand, and let's see if I can get in here without destroying everything. Okay. So moving wands are pretty easy. You just right click and you grab it, and you can put spawners down anywhere you want. So the reason why this room is this size is because the mob crusher requires it to be a 7x7. So you can see the little blue borders here. So this is 7x7. I made it 9x9, and then I filled the walls in to decorate it, and I actually put some lights in, which are actually additions lamps. And I had to space these two out further, because when the lights were on, there was still, the corners were not getting the proper light levels. But now this is completely lit up when the lights are on. And so what I'm going to do is put this back here. Oops. And then I'll just put the glass back like that, and I'll open that. I'll keep that spot open for later. But when I do turn this off, see, it's good light levels. So we have a good light level in here, so we can see. So things will spawn, and when I turn this on, it is completely lit up. So that is the gist of this room. Now the mob crusher, which is an industrial foregoing machine, and there it is. It's not too expensive. It actually requires gold and iron and tin, and so I have lots of plastic, so I made this one, and it does cover a 7x7 area, so anything that spawns in this room will immediately die. And the reason why I did this one as well is because I wanted to get this essence, which we will use later for enchants. So having a lot of this will be nice. And you also use the same stuff to duplicate the mobs using the mob duplicator. So you need to feed that same liquid back into the mob duplicator. And there's other options for killing mobs. So this is definitely the quickest and simplest. And I tend to use this one for bigger mobs. And I have a power system here, and if I get my wrench, there we go. I have some generators down there with coal. The coal comes from this, so I can put coal in here and get these things fed with coal, which they are. And this thing does not use much power, so this system right here is probably the least, well, I wouldn't say the least power hungry systems, because you can make completely automated systems, which I tend to do for the nether. I have a nether. I usually build a nether version of this same system, but with the mob grinder instead, which is this thing. I'm sorry, mob masher. This can be upgraded as well to have different mob upgrades. So essentially you can put in things like looting and other sword enchants. You can make it sharper, and so this is an upgradable version of a mob grinder. The only problem with this is that it requires you to set up a system to get all the mobs in a room to funnel them down into one spot, which is there's ways to do that. There's fans, and then there's conveyors that will do that for you. So for now, I have this one set up, and what I can do with this is I can actually make spaces in the wall and put more spawners in there, which I will do. I will go find some more spawners and I will add them to this system. You just need to keep in mind that below you want to run a duct system for power, which I just have power coming from the generators up through here to this energy cell. And then I have this as the primary storage, so anything that comes from here will run down and then go into the crate. And then I have the liquid, which is actually behind this. You can see the pipe there, which comes from here. This will drain into this drum, and I can replace the drum with anything, either a tank or another drum. And so that is pretty much it for the room design. Oh, and above there are blocks. I should have mentioned this earlier. There are newer blocks that let you, with thermal expansion, they're called Redstone Relays. And so it lets you run redstone. And I use structural ducts, so you can actually use this as like a redstone cable. So instead of having to actually run redstone all the way down there, I just ran redstone cable. And then behind these, let's see if I can do this without breaking anything. Behind this is these blocks, which are lamp controllers. And lamp controllers, they receive redstone. So here's my redstone output going into this lamp controller, which essentially powers the lamp and turns them off and on. These can be manually activated if you wanted to. You could just right click and turn them off and on yourself. But that's a pain to do in this room. So I made it all controlled by a single a single lever, which controls all these lamps. And there's a controller behind this one, and anything touching this lamp will automatically be powered on or off. And there's a controller behind this one as well. and they're all ran with structural ducts. So I have structural ducts running to all these controllers, and then it runs along this line into the block above the lever. And let's put this back. And that's pretty much it for room design. And so we have the mob crusher, which I kind of explained here. It essentially kills anything in this radius, which is a 7x7 room, and it's in front of it. So you can go, if you want to find the mills, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the middle block. So anything in a, I guess, 3-block radius from this block will be destroyed instantly. And it can handle many, many mobs. So every mob it kills, it ticks, and it does not use that much power, depending on how many mobs you have spawning in here. And so that is it for the crusher. And so the moving wand, which I kind of explained as well, you can just pick up spawners and drop them in. So eventually I'll just kind of make a checkered pattern and break these blocks and fill it in with different spawners that I find. I will probably get more blaze than anything, so like the blaze rods are definitely needed. And I do know where a zombie spawner is. It's actually beneath the village. So there's a zombie spawner beneath this village. And I think back here at my base, I have a my old base, I have a skeleton spawner around here. And I actually found a skeleton spawner down here as I was walking and looking for mushrooms. So let's see if I can turn those on. Okay, so let's turn this one on. Yeah, I don't have the other spawners in there, but here's the spawner I found. It's right there. It's actually right there, very close to this base, and that's the one I grabbed. So the next episode, you'll probably see this room filled up with spawners. And another way, the next thing I want to show you is Drop of Evil. So the reason why this is dirt is because you can actually take a Drop of Evil, and I hope this still works. It worked in a different version of 1.12. Drop of Evil is downstairs. Oh, and you don't take fall damage with the angel ring on, just FYI. So with this on, you don't take any fall damage. Alright, so let's get a Drop of Evil, which is here. And when you add a Drop of Evil to earth, to dirt, it becomes cursed. And what that does is that actually causes it to spawn mobs. So I think this is the middle. So there we go. We have cursed earth, and I will show you what that does. Let me put this glass back before I do that. So when it's lit up, it's fine, it's harmless. Turn it off, and it will spawn a lot of different mobs. There's a zombie. There's another zombie. Eventually what I'll do here is actually we'll make these two blocks a there is a glass that you can get from extra utilities, and it is called Ethereal Glass, and I actually wound up replacing this with Ethereal Glass so I can walk through. So we actually have an Enderman in there that I killed. Not seeing any Enderman drops yet. As you can see, we're getting multiple different kinds of mobs spawning in here. So spiders, Endermen, zombies. We cover this back up. And so that's it for the Drop of Evil. It's kind of a supplement to the spawner. So the spawners, I think, work better than the Drop of Evil. Drop of Evil works good if you have a big area, because this stuff will spread. So you can have a big area with several of these crushers going at one time. Then you get a lot of stuff from the Drop of Evil. But for now, I'll keep it as this is, and I won't run it all the time, but I'll run it whenever I'm actively in the base. So that is it for the Drop of Evil. And so the next thing is the mob imprisonment. And so this is going to require mob duplicator and a good amount of essence storage. So I will run this because the main goal of this whole thing is to get essence. Then we can spawn the mobs that we want, and not the ones that randomly spawn in here. So I'll keep this running for now and collect some essence. I'm hoping I get some more Endermen in here. So the mob imprisonment tool will go downstairs and we will make that. It does require a ghast tier. So having looting, at least looting 1 on your sword, is beneficial because you get multiple tiers from a ghast, which I have 5 total. So actually we'll make 2. And I need some plastic. 8. The recipe for this is just that. So we get these. These are reusable. They capture mobs. So we can capture, passive mobs. We can capture. It's just like the lasso kind of. You can capture a mob with it. And then you can release it, just like the lassos that we had. The only thing is that you can actually put this in a mob duplicator, and that is kind of the next step to the evolution of spawning, because then we can get special mobs. We can get ones like Endermen, and we can get blitzes and basals, whatever those are, the ones that drop the basals, and those mobs that don't spawn very frequently. And you can also get other mobs like sheep and horses and cows and drop them in there as well. But for those, I tend to like the soul shards. And we'll get to the soul shards in a few minutes. Maybe the next episode we'll do soul shards, because it does require a little bit of setup, and it also requires more resources than I have right now. So for now we can do the mob imprisonment. And so what I'm going to do is I will work on building another room for mobs that we imprison. And so we will have a room here, and we will have a room next to it, and we will run the piping. The power will still come from here, and the fluid will go down and probably just pipe into this next room. And I will also grab a few more of the spawners, so I want to speed up this process of gathering, which we're at 10 buckets right now, which is a good amount. I think to spawn something, you actually need 400 millibuckets. So I will take care of this next room, and next time you see this, this will be mined out, and this will have a similar setup, although I will probably not use the cursed earth in that room. But I will make another mob crusher for it, and I will be back. Okay, so I'm laying out the room, and I just wanted to show you the mob crusher. The mob duplicator, and the range that it works in. So it actually works in this type of a range, which I think is reminiscent to a spawner. And I was going to put it in the ground, but I think I might actually have to raise it up. So when you're placing your spawner, you want it to be at ground level, which this is ground level because this will be the ground level here. And let's see how it does now. Yeah, so it's 3 blocks tall, which will spawn Enderman. And it should not, this will all be a wall right here, and this will be a wall right here, and this I might leave open for empty space to get between the 2 rooms, but we will see. So for now, this should contain anything I spawn, should be contained in here, in this room. And so I wanted to also point out that to make this clean, I'm only going to have one pipe. So essentially, I'm only going to be able to have one thing come out of this, and there are so what's going to have to come out of it and go into it is going to be fluids and power, essentially. So there is a signalum plated these things. So there's signalum plated fluid ducts, and this will let you run power and liquids on the same pipe. So I will need to make some signalum plated fluid ducts in order for this thing to be powered and to get the essence required to spawn the mobs. And I'm also going to make another one of these redstone relays, which requires signalum. And signalum is very easy to make. It's just this blend, and you take a crafting station, you take 3 copper, 1 silver, and destabilized redstone bucket, which just requires 10 redstone dropped into a magma crucible. And then you put your bucket in there. Let's go over there and I'll show you. This is why I have the magma crucible paired with the fluid transposer, because you place your bucket in here and it fills up the bucket with the destabilized redstone, which you drop the redstone in here and it gets melted down into the destabilized redstone, and it takes 10 per bucket. So I wanted to show you this setup here and where this needs to be placed. And this will be my crusher, my mob crusher, just like the one over here. So it's kind of a similar setup as this one, only this will have 1 device in it, and that will be the mob duplicator, and I won't have any other spawners in here. And I will come back when I am further along. Okay, and I am back, and this is pretty much the setup here. I have everything running underground. I have fluid ducts with signalum plating, which is the orange here. And I get fluid into duplicator and power. I did capture an Enderman, and so I have a mob imprisonment tool with an Enderman. And the piping runs to here. So power goes into this cell. So all the power runs through here into the cell from the generators. So as you can see, there's this Redstone flux duct, and this is powering through the signalum plated items through there into the energy cell, and I just put a regular fluid duct here. So power doesn't go around it, power has to go through this cell, which is what I wanted. And then it comes out, and then it powers this. But fluids run all the way through. It's very loud, isn't it? Fluids run all the way through to this. And this is just being piped out from here. So it's just piping from the servo all the way through this from here. And everything that dies up here gets sucked up from the mob crusher into the drum. And then the drum pipes it all the way out to this one. Now I did put a similar setup here. So essence will come from this mob crusher into here. And eventually what I'll do is I'll run some more cabling below it to connect to this fluid system, so that both of these are pumping fluids into this. But for now, that'll just be by itself. And so what I'm going to do is just cover everything up, and I will run this in a little bit. Oh, and I forgot one thing. I did run a Redstone Relay from here to here. And so I had made it green, so I changed the color of the channel. So the other one is red, this one is green. So this one's green, and this one's green, and when I run this, see, it spawns them. And then this thing, of course, sucks them up and distributes it to different machines. You didn't drop anything. So this will, this is a impulse item duct, and it's just an upgraded item duct that goes faster, and it will take any inventory and bring it into this. So this is a fully operational spawner. And of course I can always put a different mob imprisonment in here. So if I get another one, I can always put them in here. A different kind of mob, which I may do in the future. But for now, I'm just going to get some ender pearls and anything they would drop. The only downside to this system is that the mob crusher will not pick up player only drops. So it won't pick up, I think, heads and maybe anything else flagged as player only drops. So a lot of them will drop reliquary stuff, like these, nebulous hearts. And it says killed by a player. So anything that's marked killed by a player won't drop from mobs. There are other grinders and mob killers that we can look at, and we will look at most likely in the next episode. So I will fill this in and come right back. Okay, and I am back, and this is done. So it looks sort of neat. This thing is still running. Actually, I have a few spots to fill in here, so I'll just grab from here for now. Let's fill that in. This thing's still running, and this thing has been running while I was building. This is what we have so far. We're getting a pretty good amount of ender pearls from this particular setup. And of course I have this charcoal in here, which is what I put in here to feed the power. And if these things are just doing pretty well. So I want to run this one as well. And sometimes you have a problem where this machine will read a certain block radius and not spawn endermen or anything you have in here, because the blocks have too many mobs. So you might want to turn off your other one while you're running this one, just in case. So we'll run it and see how it goes. There you go. So the light, doesn't matter if there's light or not. At least I don't think. Endermen can spawn in lights. Not be spawning in that dark corner over there. Let's get rid of this. So there we go. So we now have a fully functional Enderman mob grinder, and getting a pretty good amount of ender pearls now. So of course, again, we can do more with this. Turn this off. And we probably will in the future. Oh, we actually are getting these drops. Oh. We got 3 of these. Oh, that's interesting. So, even though they're flagged as player only, killed by a player, we are getting them from this machine. I don't believe that was the case in the past. So there you go. There are other different ones, like I've said before, that you can upgrade, and then you get even more stuff from them, like looting. But for now, this will work. This is a simple setup. We have a automatically spawning one, and then we have a whichever one we choose to spawn. So we have random and we have chosen. And I may hook up a lighting system in here, just along this wall probably, for the future. But for now that works. And I think one last thing I wanted to go over, we'll go over the soul shard system in the next episode, and we actually also will go over different ways of killing mobs once you have something like this in place. So I will we'll do another continuation of mob farms the next episode, but I did want to go over one more thing. Okay, the last thing I wanted to go over was Ethereal Glass. And I just wanted to show you this one last thing before we wrapped up. And you can get, it's unstable, we don't want that. So for a diamond, you can make a moonstone. And of course you have to make these lunar reactive dust. So you take a lapis and you put it in a resonator and you get these lunar reactive dust. So I will put these inside of a resonator. Need 8 of those, and then grab a diamond. Oh, it's right here. And these things will take a little bit of time, so I will come back when this is done, and then I will explain the rest of this process. Okay, and we are done making our lunar reactive dust, and now we can make our moonstone. There it is. Take the moonstone. Now, this is a one-time use moonstone, so this can get a little pricey, but it's definitely worth it. Let's take our moonstone, surrounded by glass. There we go. We have our Ethereal Glass. And what this does is, let's go over here. Let's try this. You do want to be careful too, because you don't want to break this unless you have silk touch. Once again, these will break like glass. So I have my silk touch hammer. Put that back. Now we'll just make this ethereal. No. Okay. Try this again. And we can walk through it. But mobs cannot walk through it. So I'm going to pause this. Spawn some mobs. Here we go. We have a skeleton in here. I can come through. Come on. There he goes. He can't go through it though. See that? I can go through. He can't go through. So this is a good way to get in and out of these types of spawners. And there is a dark version of this glass, which does not let light pass through. You'd probably use this for outside stuff. You can make dark glass, and then make dark ineffable glass from that. So it just requires 2 thickened glass with a black dye of some sort. But for now, we can now walk in and out of our own spawner. So I can put more spawners in here, and which I will do, and then I will show you that in the next episode. But for now, that is it. So I thank you for watching. I appreciate that, and I hope you learned something today. Bye.